Queen Elizabeth II, A Life of Duty, Dignity, and Devotion. Introduction. Queen Elizabeth II was not just a monarch. She was a symbol of endurance, stability, and grace for over 7 decades. As the longest reigning monarch in British history, her life spanned dramatic changes in the world, and in her realm. From the decline of the British Empire to the digital age, born into a royal family that was never supposed to rule, she became an iconic figure of the 20th and 21st centuries. Her life is a story of unexpected ascension, unshakable duty, and enduring legacy. Early life and unexpected heir. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born on April 21st, 1926, in London, England, the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York. Later, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. As the granddaughter of King George V and the niece of the future King Edward VIII, she was third in line to the throne. No one expected her to become queen. Her early childhood was relatively quiet, marked by a stable family life and private education. Nicknamed Lilibet by her family, young Elizabeth was known for her strong sense of responsibility even at an early age. She was educated at home along with her younger sister, Princess Margaret, by tutors who focused on history, law, literature, and languages. In 1936, everything changed. Her uncle, King Edward VIII, abdicated the throne to marry American divorcee Wallis Simpson, a move that scandalized the nation. Elizabeth's father became King George VI, and Elizabeth became the heir presumptive at age 10. Wartime princess. When World War II broke out in 1939, the royal family remained in Britain to show solidarity with the people. As Elizabeth grew older, she became increasingly involved in wartime efforts. At 14, she gave her first public address during a BBC broadcast to reassure children evacuated from the cities. By 1945, at age 18, she joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service, the women's branch of the British Army, where she trained as a mechanic and truck driver. This made her the first female member of the royal family to serve in the armed forces. Though her role was symbolic, it cemented her reputation as a committed servant to her country. Love and marriage in 1947. Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark, a distant cousin and a former naval officer. Their love story was both romantic and controversial. Many in the British establishment viewed Philip as too blunt, too foreign, and not suitable for a future queen. Yet Elizabeth was steadfast in her love. Their marriage was a union of tradition and modernity. Philip gave up his foreign titles and adopted the surname Mountbatten. On November 20th, 1947, they married at Westminster Abbey in a ceremony broadcast around the world. Together, they had 4 children: Charles, born 1948, Anne, 1950, Andrew, 1960, and Edward, 1964. Prince Philip remained by her side for over 70 years until his death in 2021. Becoming queen on February 6, 1952, King George VI died suddenly while Elizabeth and Philip were on a royal tour in Kenya. At just 25 years old, Elizabeth ascended the throne as Queen Elizabeth II. Her coronation took place on June 2, 1953, at Westminster Abbey, and was the first to be televised, drawing an audience of over 20 million viewers in the UK alone. Her reign began with high hopes during a time of post-war recovery and the beginning of a new Elizabethan age. Despite her youth, Queen Elizabeth approached her new role with seriousness and grace. She pledged to serve her people all her life, a promise she honored until her final days. The changing empire. Queen Elizabeth's reign saw the transition of the British Empire into the Commonwealth of Nations. As newly independent countries emerged, From colonial rule, the Queen positioned herself as a unifying figurehead rather than a ruler. She made state visits to nearly every member nation and was deeply respected across the Commonwealth. The decolonization process was not always smooth. Britain faced challenges in Kenya, Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, India-Pakistan relations, and elsewhere. Yet, Queen Elizabeth maintained strong diplomatic relationships and upheld her role as a symbol of continuity during global change. Public duties and modernization. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth carried out over 21,000 public engagements, met with 15 British prime ministers, from Winston Churchill to Liz Truss, and oversaw countless state visits, ceremonies, and openings of Parliament. She embraced modernization cautiously. She allowed the first documentary about the royal family in 1969, permitted television coverage of royal events, and gradually adapted to changing public expectations. Despite her traditional image, she quietly approved the digital evolution of the monarchy, including the launch of the official royal family website and social media channels. Her diplomatic skills were subtle, but powerful. She met every U.S. president from Truman to Biden, except Lyndon B. Johnson. She helped smooth tensions during the Troubles in Northern Ireland and famously shook hands with former IRA leader Martin McGuinness in 2012. A powerful act of reconciliation. Family, struggles and scandals. Despite her public poise, the Queen faced personal and familial turmoil. The 1990s were particularly difficult. In 1992, what she called her annus horribilis, her children's marriages crumbled. Windsor Castle suffered a fire, and public criticism of the monarchy intensified. The most profound crisis came after the death of Princess Diana in 1997. The royal family's initial silence drew public outrage. Eventually, the Queen addressed the nation, acknowledging the sorrow and paying tribute to Diana. Her speech helped restore public trust. Later years brought additional scandals, from Prince Andrew's ties to Jeffrey Epstein to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to step back from royal duties. The Queen managed these challenges with her hallmark restraint and discretion, focusing always on preserving the dignity of the crown. Faith and personal values. Queen Elizabeth II was deeply religious, grounded in her Anglican faith. As supreme governor of the Church of England, she took her spiritual duties seriously. She spoke often about the importance of compassion, forgiveness, and service. Her Christmas Day broadcasts became opportunities for personal reflection and inspiration. She used these messages to connect with people across faiths and cultures, offering wisdom and unity during times of crisis, such as after 9/11, during economic hardships, or amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Her sense of humor and calm under pressure also defined her character. Though known for her reserve, those close to her often described her as witty, insightful, and emotionally intelligent. Platinum Jubilee and final years. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth II celebrated her Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years on the throne, a historic achievement unmatched by any British monarch. Festivities across the UK and the Commonwealth included parades, concerts, and nationwide celebrations. By then, her health was declining. She began delegating more duties to Prince Charles and Prince William, subtly preparing for a future without her. She lost her beloved husband, Prince Philip, in 2021. Their farewell, seated alone in St. George's Chapel due to pandemic restrictions, was one of the most poignant images of her reign. Despite her frailty, she continued her duties until the end. On September 6, 2022, she formally appointed Liz Truss as Prime Minister at Balmoral Castle. Just 2 days later, on September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth II passed away peacefully at the age of 96. National mourning and global tribute the Queen's death triggered an outpouring of grief across the UK and the world. Her coffin was taken on a historic journey from Balmoral to Edinburgh, and finally to Westminster Hall in London, where thousands waited for hours to pay their respects. Her state funeral, held at Westminster Abbey, was attended by leaders from across the globe. She was laid to rest beside Prince Philip at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. The transition to King Charles III marked the end of an era. Yet Elizabeth's influence remains woven into the fabric of British identity and the monarchy. Legacy of a monarch queen. Elizabeth II's reign was defined not by power, but by service. She presided over the dissolution of an empire, the evolution of a constitutional monarchy, and the transformation of a nation. Her legacy includes longevity, 70 years on the throne, longer than any other British monarch. Stability, a calm and steady presence during times of upheaval. Adaptability, balancing tradition with subtle modernization. Commonwealth leadership, fostering unity and cooperation among over 50 nations. Personal integrity, a life of discipline, discretion, and devotion. Above all, she embodied the principle she once declared in a radio broadcast at 21. My whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service. She fulfilled that vow completely. Queen Elizabeth, too, lived through a century of transformation and emerged as one of the most respected and beloved leaders in the modern world. Her reign bridged eras, her service inspired generations, and her legacy will endure for centuries. She was not just the Queen of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. She was the steady heartbeat of a nation and a symbol of constancy in an ever-changing world.